Hi guys, my name is Joe and welcome to Fighting Words, the martial arts library. On this channel I review martial arts books and talk about other martial arts related subjects. This is a segment I call Media Fight Mondays. So on the first and third Monday of every month, I take a fight scene from movie, TV show, or animation, and I break it down and I grade it based on realism and storytelling value. This fight scene, it's actually a few different fights. This is from the movie Koru Obi, also known as Black Belt in English, because that's what it translates into. Setting the stage for the background. This is very early into the movie. This is in Manchuria. There's a karate school, and the Japanese Imperial Police in the 1940s, 30s, World War II, decide that they're going to take over this place because what good is karate? We need it for our policing stuff. And there's a confrontation. One of the karate students is injured with a sword. The hot-headed karate student decides that he wants to fight. Initially, the police chief, played by an actor named Giryu, he was also a pop singer, I guess, or a rock singer. I couldn't find if he had any martial arts background. He was going to accept the challenge, but now, first one underling, then another steps in. I couldn't find anything on these guys. Sorry, I'd like to find. I couldn't even find who they were played by exactly. You know, they've decided to step in against hot-headed karate student Taikan, played by Tetsuya Naka, who is a Shotokan practitioner and competitor. Giryu is played by Akihito Yagi, who is a Goju-ryu practitioner. Now, the fight choreographer for this was Fuyuhiko Nishi, and he and the other karate actors, although I couldn't find his background, he shows up as another karate fighter later in this, so he clearly has some sort of background. They've actually done several movies together. Probably, besides this, the most famous might be High Kick Girl. It's karate versus, guys with swords. There should really be a certain expectation as to how that's going to go. Now, the master in this has cautioned, only use your defensive techniques. Do not throw any offensive techniques. I have slowed down the film to half speed so we can see the action a little bit better. Rushes in with a punch to the chest. And of course, everybody's like, how? And his buddy wants to take over. Kick to the body. Maegiri. It's a front kick to the body. Now, all the karate strikes here are sort of carrying with it the idea of Ikin Hitatsu, which is one strike, one kill. In other words, the idea that you should fully commit to your strike and it should be powerful enough to literally destroy your opponent. And he's dead from what looked like either a side kick or maybe a round kick. And it looked like it hit him more in the upper chest, but he's dead now. Now Taikan's master stops him. It's like, okay, that's enough. And we get this exchange. if you follow the teachings of our master and lose the fight, I will finish it. Because again, the master's like, guys, no hitting. There's no hitting in karate. We see Giryu is evading. Until, and he executes Geidan Barai, often translated as downward block or downward sweeping block. He slams into the hand or wrist of the police colonel. Comes back at him with the swords. Again, he's not hitting him. He's avoiding the strikes. That is age uke, or rising block. And again, smashing his forearm into the wrists of his attacker. Avoiding the blows again. Couldn't quite see what block was used there. That was more like a lower level shuto thrust. So there's this concept. I find it more in Japanese and Korean martial arts. I don't know how common it is in Chinese martial arts. The idea of a hard block. In other words, the concept is to use a deflection with enough force and power to injure the limb that you have knocked away. So at this point, police chief's arm has been battered. And again, if we are assuming that he's using the same force in his blocks as Taikan was using in his punches and kicks, it's a wonder that old police chief can barely handle his sword at this point. So now the police chief is pleading for Giryu to come and kill him. Do you want to bear with that shame forever? Something was wrong in the translation there. Police chief is shamed because he was bested in combat but not killed. So credit to the actor here, he's even sort of holding his sword a little more weakly at this point, like he's barely holding it properly at all. Going for one last attack is a thrust, and he moves to the side and smashes his hand between his knee and his elbow. So that's it. And here's a spoiler. This is actually a really good movie if you can find it. You know, if you're a fan of karate, this is a pretty good movie. But yeah, he smashed his hands there. That's the end of the fight. We find out later that the captain was so shamed by this that he committed seppuku, or ritual suicide. Realism. I hate this. Because every move that they used is a move that could be used. I think the effects are exaggerated a bit. I have seen people in things like Taekwondo, Muay Thai, kickboxing, and MMA get their forearms broken with kicks. I'm not sure between two similarly sized individuals whether blocking techniques could do that. I'm a little amazed that, you know, at no point were either karate practitioner cut with a sword, because that seems very likely. But they also didn't portray it as these guys suck with a sword and the other guys are just, magical. There were no camera tricks there. A solid B, I think, because again, I think there are aspects of this that are exaggerated. I think there are aspects of this that happen so that the movie can work, because that's the story they're trying to tell. But there was nothing extraordinary. There was nothing that could not have happened. I think the effects of the karate blows were probably exaggerated, and I would have expected somebody to get cut during some of those exchanges. You know, However, with a really good sense of timing and distance, also you might be able to avoid that. But there's a reason why nobody fought wars with punches and kicks. The second we find a weapon, we start using it. Insofar as storytelling, I liked most of this. I think we get one version of doing karate with Taikan. Just like, I'm going to go out here and just, murder dudes with my fists and feet. And that continues throughout the film. There are some other good karate fights. You're going to see some more Koru Obi fights, several months down the line probably. He's a violent guy. He's using this for violence. Giryu is very much listening to his master and like, okay, I'm only going to use karate for defense. This is what I've been instructed. This is what I'm going to do. We see that displayed in his use of karate. He's pretty much only using blocks, but he is using them in such a way that it makes it very difficult for his opponent to continue attacking him. What's interesting culturally is that he is not directly taking a life, but he is responsible for a life ending here. And again, it does come into play later down the movie. I'm a little surprised that, Sensei didn't immediately kick out Taikan like, no, we don't do that. I told you not to hit the guy, and the first thing you did was hit the guy. Yeah, overall storytelling, a solid A. I really like the fight choreography here. I like the movie as a whole. Again, if you can find it. I think that you should be able to find it on YouTube and maybe some other streaming services. But I really enjoy this movie. That's all I have for this week. Remember that Media Fight Mondays are the first and third Monday of every month. Tune in for the next one in a couple of weeks. If you would like to support the channel, if you have any suggestions, I will be taking suggestions and donations through my Ko-fi account, which is going to be linked in the description. So, thank you for watching this with me, and I'll see you guys later.